Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go through how it is that I get the game files, the ship models, sorry, out of the game files that I can then start playing around with them in programs like Blender, 3ds Max, Maya, etc. There's a few things you're going to need. Obviously, the game installed is one of them. A folder to keep everything in is also another thing you're going to need, because you are going to need to make a duplicate of your game files. If you try and do this using your original game install, it's just going to corrupt everything and cause you nothing but headaches, so try to avoid that. And the third thing you're going to need is a bunch of various different tools. So if you want to extract literally everything that there exists in the game, don't make a duplicate, but use unp4k to just extract everything into a new location. I would typically recommend against this, just because once you do unpack everything, it takes up almost twice as much space as the actual game install, which is less than ideal. If you do want to avoid that, then use Crucible, which allows you to just extract specific things. The other things you're going to need to use are a texture converter, which is sctextconv. I'll leave a link for that in the description. And a model converter, which is CGF converter. Again, a link in the description. I'll also leave one for unp4k and for Crucible. I'll show you just briefly how to use unp4k if you do wish to use that. So what you're going to do if you wish to use unp4k, you're going to create a new folder. I'm just going to call it hold for now. I'm going to grab your unp4k, which is just a zip file with a bunch of stuff inside of it. Copy, you're going to paste. Save that location. Open command prompt. Don't open it as admin, it will get janky. You're going to change directory to where you've got that folder located, which in this case is here. unp4k.exe. You're then going to direct it to where the game is installed. So for me in this particular instance, it's going to be, I'm going to use PTU. And you're going to follow that up with data.p4k and just hit enter. And that will now start extracting the entirety of the game files. I'm just going to cancel that so it doesn't go too far. Once it's done that, I would highly recommend using Unforge to just convert anything that is in a CryXML format. Now you can do this on just the game.dcb file, which is the primary one. That's what contains all of the XML data. But if you do want it to just go through everything, which I would recommend, especially if you're data mining, then just run unforge.exe. Unforge.exe in the same location, space, full stop, hit enter. And it will go through and it will just find, if it can't convert something, obviously it won't, it will just find everything it can convert and do that. Both of these are very time consuming, they take a very long time, so again, only do that if you absolutely have to. Just going to delete that folder now because I don't need it. If you want to do it using Crucible, as I say, make a copy of your game file, so just copy everything that's here and place it into a new location, which I've already done just to speed things up. And so I've just got a duplicate here. I'm going to come into my tools, I'm going to use Crucible, I'm going to open it up, I'm going to File, Open, and I'm already in that location. I'm just going to find the P4K file in my copy of the game, I'm going to open it. Give that a moment. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to where I know that the files, I already know where the files are. So for the models, they're going to be under Data, Objects, and pretty much everything you're going to want to play with is in here, whether that be animals, character models, FPS weapons, for example. I'm just going to focus on the ships because that's, let's be honest, what most people want to mess around with. So spaceships, again, you've got various different things. Ammo is going to be things like your missiles, your torpedoes. Down here we have the weapons, again, as it says on the tin. Ships is where you're going to find the actual ships. So in this instance, I'm just going to use the Gladius because that's what I always use as an example. I'm just going to right-click Gladius, extract all to. I find if you just click extract all, sometimes it's a bit janky. Extract all to always works. Also, if you try and extract to a different location altogether, I find it sometimes like fails halfway through. I don't know what that's about, but especially if it's on a different drive as well. it does tend to just freak out and stop working halfway through the extraction, just as a warning. Use the same top level, so you want to use the top level where you have your copy of the game done. Select folder, and there you go. Yeah, so straight away, one or more errors occurred. So if I just do extract all, this time it's going to work. Again, I don't know what that's about. I don't know the source code of Crucible, so I'm just going to wait for this to finish. In fact, whilst I wait for this to finish, I'm just going to navigate through. So this is now going to put it under data, objects, spaceships, ships, Aegis. I'd already done the Avenger earlier, just as a proof of concept. Gladius. So you can see we've got all the Gladius files now here. So yeah, I'm going to close Crucible because I no longer need it. Now, the files you're going to be looking for are these CGA files. These are going to be your actual, your meshes. Right. Some of them are going to be skin files, but that tends to be more for armor and stuff. What you're also going to notice is, as you go through, you're going to have all sorts of additional stuff. So gun racks, for example. These are things you'll have to do separately. They're separate objects. Decals, worry about that sort of stuff when you need to. Shields aren't a thing anymore. What you will notice as you go through is this file here, aegisgladius.cga. That's the main mesh. You're also going to have one down here called, if I can find where it's just gone, not that one. Give me a second. There we go. Aegis Gladius LOD 1. LOD files are their lower poly count meshes. So they're used for when you're further away in game, it will load a lower poly count mesh so that it uses less resources, right? Now, especially with the lower level one, so LOD 5, what you'll tend to find is that a lot of things are typically split into multiple meshes. So, for example, the weapons rack is its own mesh. Wing fins are their own mesh, stuff like that. They tend to all get merged into one mesh. So using the LOD files can be a really good way to get a reference point if you're not quite sure how things should be lined up or if you've accidentally moved something. But otherwise, don't worry about them, just focus on the main ones. So we're going to use the model converter. Now, if you're using Maya or Max, you can just convert to a DAE file and it will work straight away. So all you do is you just drag and drop it, the file in question, on top, give it a moment, and it will go through it and it will convert and create a DAE file. Now you can just open this in Windows' own 3D viewer as well. And as you can see, I've got a Gladius. It's got all of its materials applied. Hence why it's all shiny. Yeah, we now have a Gladius that we can manipulate and work with. I find that for some reason, Blender does not play ball with DAE files. It always... So if I try and import one now... So Collada... was there, data mining, data, objects, spaceship, ships, Aegis, Gladius. It always fails. I don't know why it does this, it's just something that Blender does. If anyone knows how to fix it, just leave a comment and I'll pin it. So if you are using Blender, you tend to have to use OBJ files. The way that you do this, or the easy way to do this, right-click CGF Converter, going to create a shortcut, right-click the shortcut, Properties, and in this target field, go to the end, space, dash, hyphen, whatever you want to call it, OBJ. Apply, OK. And now, when I drag and drop the CGA file on, it will instead create an OBJ file. And I just want to double check, is that actually... Oh, sugar, no, I didn't want to open Photoshop. Never mind. Yeah, it will open OBJ files. The only problem with OBJ files is everything comes in with centered at the origin point. So nothing's positioned properly. You have to position it yourself manually. That's the only real downside to using OBJ files and Blender. Again, someone knows a way around that, let me know down below. I believe the sock pack files will place everything properly, or you can use the sock pack files to get the placement of everything. I don't know how to do that personally, so I'm not going to go through it. Again, I use 3ds Max. That doesn't appear to be an issue. If you do want to use the textures, which are in here, you'll find that a lot of them will come under these DDS files. Now, if I just go... if I go into a list so that I can actually see... And actually, it looks like they've all been converted already. Okay, never mind. It appears that they actually get converted by Crucible. If you don't use Crucible, and you do use UMP4K to do this, you will have to convert the textures as well. So what you'll find is you'll have multiple DDS files. So you'll have DDS, DDS1, DDS2, DDS3. In order to get around that, you'd come into this texture folder here. Again, I'm just going to put that into a list so I can actually see what I'm doing. You would come into the texture converter, copy those into there, and then you would just run sc textconf.exe, and it will go through and it will merge all those split DDS files. So that's what those DDS 1, 2, 3s are. They're just split DDS files, right? And that will just convert all of them. Now, what that's done is obviously it's just created duplicates of all of them because it had already been done. So don't worry about it if you're using Crucible. It looks like Crucible's actually converting them. I wasn't aware it was doing that. And then you can just use these texture files as you see fit. Obviously, you've got various different types of texture files. Now, I don't know what all of these abbreviations mean off the top of my head. DDNA, I know, is a bump map. Diff is a diffuse. DSPL is a displacement, etc. Spec is a specular, and whatnot. I'm not great with the texture files, so I'm not going to go any deeper than that. That pretty much covers everything that you need to know with it when it comes to the models. At least how to get the models in a workable state. So I can show you just a working example, at least in 3ds Max. Give it a moment to load. So what I can do is I can just grab this DAE. Max hasn't finished loading. Give it a second. Why does it take so long? Come on. You can do it. You can do it. There we go. So yeah, as you can see, I've now got the ship itself. When you import a DAE file, I don't know why this is the case. You will find that you get a lot of these here. So these are anchors and the various attachment points. You will want to go through and get rid of those. You'll also find that a lot of surfaces within the ship will have what's the word? They're non-surfaces, essentially. Now, you can find these if you go into your materials, and of course none of the materials are actually here. Where is my... There's material editor. Why aren't you working? Come on. None of my materials are working at the moment, never mind. If you do find that you get those, then you can just use your materials to identify them and delete them. I don't know how to do that in Blender, I only know how to do that in Max. Again, this isn't a tutorial on how to use Blender, etc. That's about it. That is now a ship model in a CAD program that I can now start messing about with. So I can go in here and, I don't know, add a new material and make it bright green, and where's applied to section gone? Apply that to the section, and there you go. I can now start texturing it and doing whatever the hell I want with it. You are going to notice that some stuff is always going to be missing. As I say, there are things that you're going to have to do separately. For example, you can see that the MAV thrusters are missing, main thrusters are missing, again, MAV thrusters are missing there. Weapons are all going to be missing, as well as their hard points. So go through the game files, find what you need, and just start playing around with it until you find everything you need. That's about it. Any questions? Obviously ask in the Citizens Reactor Discord. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Peace out.